What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, Ben Valley, and back with another episode of the Sports Pod. And today is part 5 of the 82-part series where I will be recapping every single Knicks game from this regular season. And a couple nights ago, they wrapped up the home and home series with the Cleveland Cavaliers. And this game was not as good as the first one. The first one, I thought they played their best game of the season. In this past one, they might have played their second worst game of the season. The worst being that game against the Pelicans, which I don't know if any game is going to get worse than for the rest of this season. But in this one, it was just the offense was sluggish, and it has been to start the season. I know it's only 5 games, so there is time to turn this around. This isn't crunch time where they have to win now or they're not going to get into the postseason. They will need to win tonight and next Friday and the next couple Fridays to get into the in-season tournament knockout round. But if they don't get into that, it doesn't really matter. It's not that big of a deal, and I'm not going to care too much. I'm just going to treat these games as regular games with a little bit more incentive connected to them. But for this one, I mentioned how the offense has been very slow, not doing a lot, and most of it is because of Julius Randle. I said he was doing better with passing the ball over the first couple games, which he's been doing slightly worse than that from the start of the season to now. But overall, he's been doing better than past seasons. And he's not here to pass the rock, get 10, 15 assists a game. He's here to score and also pass. But now that he's not scoring, it becomes a bit of an issue. He's a guy that's going to take a ton of shots every game, and who knows if he's going to make them. This year, he has one of the worst field goal percentages through 5 games in NBA history. He's shooting an abysmal 27.6% right now from the field, and that's got to stop him fast. And it's really the reason to me why the Knicks are doing so bad. In the first 2 games, the Hawks game and the Celtics game, it didn't hurt them as much that he wasn't shooting. But now as we get into these games, with the past 2, the past game with RJ Barrett out, who's been playing really well and scoring a lot, he needed to step up and score in this one. Because RJ's replacement in the starting lineup, Josh Hart, is not a guy who goes out and scores a lot. He's more of an energy guy who can score, but isn't going to score in the starting 5 where Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle are in. But if RJ does miss more games, then Hart is gonna, and Randle does continue to not score, Hart will have to eventually start scoring the ball more, rather than just passing, getting rebounds, and playing his game. He's gonna have to step outside of that a little bit and score. But I think that's okay. I think Hart's capable of doing it. I don't think it's going to be a lot harder for him. Well, it's going to be harder for him, but it's not going to be impossible, is what I'm trying to say. And I just want to go back to this conversation that I had with Keith McPherson before the season started. Neither of us thought that Randall was going to start off so slow and have an underwhelming start to the season. But if you look back at it, this is exactly what he did the last time the Knicks made it to the playoffs. And that can't be happening because we saw what happened last time where he struggled that entire season, and then the fans started getting in his ear, and then everything really wasn't good. But this year I thought he was going to be better, and I thought he was going to continue to play the way he did last year, which was an all-star level of play. and a level that he should be able to sustain and not just have for one season and then kind of fall off again and then bring it back for a season and then fall off again. Even with this, I'm starting to wonder if he's injured. He underwent ankle surgery in the offseason to repair those two ankle injuries that he had down the stretch of last year. And I don't know if he's fully recovered from that. He's supposed to be. That's what the doctor said. He would be ready for training camp. But he doesn't look like himself at all. He only had 6 points in this one. And for a guy who's either the first or second option on a team, you have to be at least in double figures. At least. Like you look at the Cavs' second option from this game, ended up being Evan Mobley, and that's who it should have been with this shorthanded roster with Jared Allen and Darius Garland out. Donovan Mitchell at 30. He went off in the first half, slowed down the second half. But then you look to their second option, Evan Mobley. Only 14 points. But you look at the Knicks' first option, Jalen Brunson. And then you look who's supposed to be their second option in Julius Randle, 6 points. There's a big drop-off there. IQ ended up being the real second option in this one with 18 points. And he had a couple clutch buckets. Not clutch in terms of fourth quarter up or down 5, but third quarter, maybe down 7, Celtics starting a run. He'll hit a 3, stop the run, and get the Knicks on a little run to cut it back to 1 or 2. Like the Cavs won this game 95-89 by 6 points, but it was tightly contested the whole way through. The Knicks led at the half. It wasn't like Cleveland jumped out in the beginning and never looked back. It was definitely a close game, and I think it was a game that the Knicks should have won, but especially since Cleveland was so shorthanded, missing 2 of their top 4 players. Already mentioned that, and Jared Allen and Darius Garland. Darius Garland is really the second option on that team. Both him and Donovan Mitchell were 20-point scorers last season. Garland played the first game against the Nets, and Net now is out. I don't know what his exact injury is, but all I know is that he hasn't played. And neither has RJ. He didn't play in this one. And that's big for the Knicks. I said it already. He's been their best player to this point in the season. And we missed him the other night. I think if we had him, he would have scored more points. And we could have won this game. But I said Josh Hart didn't score that much in his spot. He had 11 points. And that was a sneaky 11 points. Because when I was watching the game, I didn't think he scored that much, and it didn't feel like it. But he'll score like that. He'll get some transition baskets. He'll get some free throws. He'll hit a 3 or 2, and then that's really it for him. But he looked pretty good, considering he scored that much. I thought all the other parts of his game were good. He finished with 3 assists to 2 turnovers, which isn't good. Only a foul. 1 for 5 from deep. I mean, the tangible stats weren't there, but I say it so much. He brings all the intangibles to the team. And another guy who brought a lot of intangibles the other night was Dante DiVincenzo. He went off on the defensive end. He ended up with only 1 steal. 2 steals and a block. But he had 1 steal where the Cavs, they were up 6-0 run. Game was tied before they went on it. It was a cross-court pass. Donovan Mitchell threw it. He kind of stuck his arm out, no look. He knew where the ball was going, and he caught it, brought it up the court, and then dished it out for a transition bucket. But he's getting these steals because of his court awareness, and he has a lot of it. He knows where he is and what's happening on the court at all times. And it's very good to see from a fan's point. And he's probably been their best 3-point shooter. He had 3 3-pointers on the night, highest on the team. Nobody else had more than one. And if we're only making, let's see, 5 3-pointers in a 2023 NBA game, there's going to be some problems. They did play good defense again, holding the team under 100 points. This is 3 games in a row now, so 3 out of 5 games. It's 60%, and I'll take that. If we're playing defense at this high of a level, the offense is going to come around eventually, I think, and it'll be even better once it does, because we know the defense is going to be good, and then if the offense can start scoring, that would be huge for the Knicks. Then they could string a couple wins together, get the mojo back, get a couple games above 500 now as they drop to 2-3 with the loss. And then the fans start getting back into it. They're still in it. It's so early in the season, but they really start getting into it at the start, like starting to get into it. The Garden's always rocking, but it's gonna amplify the noise in there. And the bottom line is they're not gonna win games if they don't start to score. So the at the end of the day, they just have to start scoring, and all these problems will go away. I want to talk about Donovan Mitchell for a second. He ended up with 30 points in the game, but 23 of those points came in the first half. And he didn't start scoring in the second half till there was 2 minutes and 48 seconds left in the fourth quarter. So in the first half, Quentin Grimes struggled a little bit. But in the second half, he adjusted and he started playing really good defense. And a player like that is gonna start scoring again eventually. He's not gonna be silent for the rest of the game once you start to lock him down. And he came to life when it mattered most in a close game in the fourth quarter, where the Knicks, they were on top for a lot of this game. I already said that they were leading going into the half. It really felt like it was their game to lose, which it really was, with a team that was shorthanded already in your home arena, especially when the home arena gives you as much of a home court advantage as Madison Square Garden does. And against a team that fans know is going to be good, so they're going to show up, they're going to be loud, and they're going to want to will their team to victory, as Clyde Frazier says. But yeah, with Donovan Mitchell, the first half, he bombarded the Knicks with offense, and he was really a one-man wrecking crew on offense in the first half of the game. Then you take a break for the half, and then you come out in the second half, and his defense was way better. And that's the thing. With these guys, it's just about how locked in you are on the defensive end of the court. It's not about how good you are, how quick you are. That plays into it a little bit. But really, it's how much you hustle, how much you know where the ball is. And these things that someone like Dante DiVincenzo does, and Drew Holiday, I know he's not on the Knicks, but he does it really well. Marcus Smart, he does it. He's a really good defender, and it was just he worked harder in the second half, and I think that could be a factor in why he wasn't scoring as much, because his shot was coming up short, which means he didn't have enough legs in it, and his legs were probably tired from playing so hard on the defensive end of the court. But yeah, he had a really good game against the Knicks, and he really carried his team to victory in this one. Overall, Cavs win 95-89. And the last thing I want to talk about is Mitchell Robinson once again. He had another ton of rebounds. In fact, he had 16. And it wasn't like they're all defensive rebounds. He's getting offensive rebounds too. And that's huge for the Knicks. It's absolutely massive to get these second chance points, especially when the shots aren't falling. Because then you can kick it back out, reset the offense, and really get another shot at it. All right, that's going to do it for this episode. But before I finish, Spotify now has video podcasts for the Sports Pod. So if you're on Spotify, you can now watch the video. None of the other platforms allow it. And check out my Instagram account for behind the scenes content and bonus content. I've been posting on there a lot more recently. And check out my YouTube channel, as always, for video content. All right, that's going to do it for this episode. I'm your host, Ben Valiant, and this was the Sports Pod.